Last year, a running theme of regulatory concern was charges. This concern was variously expressed as value for money by the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, or value for members by TPR, the pensions regulator. Not the same thing. In last month's Reith lectures, Dr. Mark Carney, former Governor of the Bank of England, noted how increasingly the value of something or some act or someone is equated with its monetary value, a monetary value that's determined by the market, and evidence that commodification, putting a good or service up for sale, can corrode the value of the activity being priced. The prevailing sentiment that value is subjective, everything has a price and the market is always right, means that anything not priced has no value. Many influences on our well-being, such as mental health and community and human relationships, have no price. As a result, we've underinvested in social infrastructure. Many commentators have drawn attention to the way the current pandemic has highlighted the often inverse relationship between the value of essential workers and the price we pay for their services. Notoriously, COVID-19 has forced governments around the world to choose between prioritising citizens' health and the economy, as if there were a trade-off instead of recognising they're complementary. Dr. Carney noted that where concerns develop about fairness or administrative competence or the validity of the strategic objectives, people become less compliant with government directives. The same is true of UK financial services. The FCA and TPR are funded by levies on the institutions they regulate. Fines can be imposed for compliance failures, though the money goes to the Treasury, so the burden of subsidisation of miscreants by the good guys is in no way relieved. That's one source of grievance. Another is the failure of the regulators themselves to do what they're paid to do, the least the regulated firms and funds should expect from their levies. At the same time Dr. Carney was speaking, reports were published of investigations into the FCA's regulation of the Connaught Income Fund and London Capital and Finance. And these contained coruscating criticisms of the FCA. Among the most serious are the evidence that many warnings of the malpractice afoot were disdained or simply ignored by FCA staff, and the apparent unwillingness of individuals at the top of the FCA to accept responsibility for what happened and what did not happen. Scandals are emerging all the time, most egregiously with the banks in 2008. The decade of austerity following, in which the stupendous losses occurred were socialised, has had a corrosive effect on public confidence. And the question now being asked is, are the regulators fit for purpose? Mark Carney, who is far better placed than I am to answer this question, had this to say: to re-establish the social licence of finance requires a combination of regulation and true cultural change. In the long history of scandal, response, integrity, drift, and then new scandal, the potential solutions have oscillated between the extremes of light touch regulation and total regulation, and there are problems with each of these. Total regulation, which arguably we have at the moment, has failed because it has promoted a culture of compliance with the letter of the law, not the spirit. Regulators have appeared to be playing whack-a-mole in a futile attempt to keep up with ingenious market operators. Dr. Carney concluded, we need to promote the values of responsibility, solidarity, integrity and prudence as best we can through pay, through codes and regulations, while recognising that these can only be fully lived through culture and practice, in which all its participants live society's core values. While this issue of a shared culture is vitally important, I'm not sure it's achievable in a society where a sense of them and us is pervasive. This is manifest in two ways. A, where it seems there is one rule for a privileged few and another for the rest, a view acutely observed during the pandemic. And B, where there is an asymmetry of information and power, between an organisation and members of the public with whom it interacts. In an example of the latter, pensions administrator Trafalgar House recently found that over a third of the 2,000 plus members of the public they surveyed said they had either no or very little trust in the pensions industry, though some other financial services sectors fared even worse. A way forward is emerging there in response to the challenge of climate change. A societal consensus favouring sustainability and social cohesion over untrammeled greed and economic growth is gaining traction. Market values are under attack, and here we, the UK pensions industry, arguably one of the few industries with a guaranteed future, have a huge opportunity. We need to get behind Pensions Minister Guy Opperman, who recently wrote, "Pensions play a vital role in shaping the financial security of the nation and our commitment to net zero by 2050. We need to make common cause with the pension members we serve. We need a cultural paradigm shift from compliance to cooperation, because in the final analysis, we have a common interest in a sustainable future."